an effort to improve neighborhood relations, I invited this great blue heron to hang around with me for the afternoon. I hoped he would come to see these koi are just too beautiful to eat, rather than so beautiful they have to be eaten. This bird really is built perfectly for fishing, from the feet all the way to the beak. This is definitely the eye of an extremely skilled hunter. And here's his weapon. Capable of killing fish much larger than he can possibly eat. Though I tried, I knew he and I couldn't be friends for long. Today I'll be doing the first culling of the new season. I head down to the lower ponds. These are kohaku fry, 45 days old now, and beginning to show their future potential. These koi have beaten many odds just to get to this point. Here is another one of the many predators they've had to dodge and elude over their first 45 days. A large spider that waits patiently on the surface of the water until an unsuspecting fish comes to the surface to pick at a treat. The spider quickly nabs the fish with its deadly talons, and the fish becomes a meal, like this baby showa. Koi breeding really is, to an extent, a numbers game, and a game of survival. As a breeder, I have to do what I can to produce the very best fry. Then I have to ensure they survive and aren't taken by predators. Then, through meticulous culling, I have to find and grow the koi with the qualities and characteristics that I'm breeding for. So many things can happen during a long summer, though. Here are a few choices from the first cull. It's likely that only one of these baby kohakus will make it through the series of cullings throughout the summer to be kept to grow or sold as show quality. This kohaku is just 14 months older. Notice how the coloration has blossomed. In addition to culling, I do spend a lot of time in the summer looking over and evaluating older koi that are kept up in the filter tanks. This one has flicked a scale on the upper back. This will fill back in over the next few months. Notice the bright, sparkly nature of the white skin. This is a sibling that has been raised basically in the same conditions and with the same diet. If we compare the two, though, we see subtle differences, which can be inherited from separate fathers or grandparents, or can be the individual characteristics of each koi. We need to also consider the sex of the koi. One of these kohakus is male and one is female. If we look closely, we can see that the tint of beni is slightly different on each, though the kiwa and sashi characteristics are similar on both. Notice the white is good on both koi, though slightly yellow. The heat and heavy feeding of summer will affect the look of the white. The culling chores continue with sankes today. Sankes leave me feeling weak and fragile and unworthy. So few of these fry will make the cut. Out of this bowl of about 200 fry, I will choose only one, maybe two, to keep until the second call. I've been playing with these critters literally all of my life. After sankes, I move on to another pond of kohaku fry. It's about 94 degrees Fahrenheit today. This is risky weather to be moving baby koi around in. I keep well water running into the pond as I seine to try and prevent the water from overheating. These fry will soon find their way over to the seine net, along with the thousands of others. This will be a very long and tiring day. The ratio of kohakus I keep from this first culling will be much higher than the sankes, about 20 to 1. Here are a couple of fairly common defects found in koi. Everything I've kept is in this blue tub. "45 days ago, they looked like this. I've always been fascinated by koi development. The way they blossom into such beautiful animals, and the time frame, the amount of time it takes a particular koi to be at its peak of beauty. I don't sell many koi locally in my own town, but it's nice when I do. The potential for education is excellent when I'm able to visit local clients' ponds and check in on fish from my farm. Seeing how they grow and develop in small ponds, in large ponds, or in shallow ponds versus deep ponds, or ponds with modern filtration or even poor filtration. Comparing siblings that all started out at one place, one environment, and then were dispersed into a variety of other environments is extremely enlightening for me. All of the showas and kohakus in this pond originated at my farm. What would summer be without good friends getting together for good times? Members of the Triad Koi and Water Garden Society visited me for a day of koi fun. After an afternoon of tailgating and fun fishtails, we pulled up a group of tosai for the club's grow-out competition.
Okay, that will be number 3 pick. Wait. She knows she doesn't want it, so she's passing that one back.
He's got.
Dan, is this over yours?
Yeah. That's mine and
You
Mark's.
didn't pick yours, but you got next to it.
Within a couple of short, hot weeks, I find myself back in the mud ponds for culling number 2. These kohakus are about 4 inches now, and are looking good overall. They're gathered up and moved down to the culling station. Here are some other deformities. Missing a gill plate. This would be genetic rather than physical damage. This gash is likely physical damage that's healed. It's really hard to tell if this one's from an early injury or if it's genetic. Here's another gill plate issue, but look at the coloration also. This is a throwback type koi to where kohaku originated. Notice the head on this one. These are some of the kohakus I chose to keep growing, at least until the third culling. I was having a problem with honeysuckle vines completely overtaking my filter area around back, so I hired these goats to clean up the area and keep the vines in check. In the process, I was reminded of our pond ecosystems. These goats love honeysuckle and quickly nibbled the vines flat down to the ground. With the vines gone though, another annoying weed that goats don't like so much grew like crazy in place of the honeysuckle. The quick lesson is, Mother Nature will fill any void with something. Anytime there's a space available, something will grow in it. The honeysuckle was the dominant weed, and the other weeds would only grow there when it was gone. In our pond systems, we have to be careful that we only have the bacteria or the algae growing there that we want to grow there. Also, if we remove something beneficial, this may shift the conditions to favor another species that is non-beneficial, such as anaerobic bacteria, where aerobic bacteria should be. I see the male turkey we found in the spring has left his mark. 9 young wild turkeys wandering around the ponds. This is another group of sankey fry that were spawned late in the season. Let's go in and see where they live. This is mud pond number 1, the first pond I built here several years ago. Every few years, I'll bring a dozer in and recondition the ponds, new soil, reshaping, or whatever is needed. Coming into the ponds and checking the progress of the spawns is an enjoyable part of my job. If the fry aren't the size they should be at their age, or if things don't look correct, I make changes or adjustments to steer the pond back on course. This goes on throughout the summer. I want to know about everything that's growing or living in here. Even at only a few weeks old, these sankey fry see me as the person that feeds them every day, not as a predator or as a threat. This young tree frog rides on his own private island of algae. The tadpole to the left dreams of someday climbing aboard too. Now, a week later, these sankey fry are old enough to be evaluated. They weave in and out of this algae forest looking for things to snack on. This algae is a different type than the tubular netting we looked at in issue 9. These soft filaments pose no threat to the fry. Now we can begin to see how huge the job today is going to be. This afternoon is spent looking at every single fry. Out of this particular net, I choose just one. Sanke's again. Many of the culls that aren't kept here to sell as entry-level koi or pond-grade koi are taken to a friend's place. My friend Bob lives in an Arrow neighborhood, a community of pilots and flying enthusiasts. It's a beautiful neighborhood with lots of water in every direction, and many of the homeowners have planes in their garages. The community runway is straight ahead. This is Bob's place. He has a 2-acre pond in his front yard. It's stocked with bass. Now you know where I'm going. Bob's also built some interesting cages within the pond to hold fry and keep some away from the hungry bass. This is Bob, and this is a trap he's designed to catch koi at feeding time.
Yeah, I will get in there with him and take
Here are some of my culls that Bob's managed to catch up from his pond. These are about 2 to 3 years old. These are being gathered up and sold today as general pond-grade koi. The client is hands-on and jumps in to make his picks.
He said he retrieved, a good 10 of them.
His witty sister is a past Miss North Carolina and another koi nut. Here are some of their choices. This is how Bob's trap works. The cage itself is a box made of PVC pipes with netting wrapped around it. A 4x4x10 boom arm extends out from his dock, and a rope and pulley raises and lowers the cage. The net we see on top of the cage right now is put on after the koi are caught to stop them from jumping out if they're being stored in the cage for a while. Bob lowers the cage to the pond bottom a day or two before he plans to catch koi. Then when he's ready to catch them, he feeds the koi over the sunken cage, then quickly pulls the rope, bringing the cage up around them. Keep in mind these aren't show quality koi, and this isn't a method that should be used on show koi. Here are some of the other holding cages he's made. Across the pond we can see a neighbor's airplane hangar. This water was relatively clear in the pond before koi were added a few years ago. I think a lot of koi have eluded Bob's bass. Who knows how many are in here. Bob builds these floating fountains too. Here's a small cage he's built for fry. And some other cages. Here's a secret. The bass always manage to get in. That's okay. Bob basically does this for fun and entertainment. Bob's an artist and an avid art collector, and he sees something interesting in koi, like we all do. As I'm leaving, one of the neighbors is heading out too. He may be going grocery shopping. I fly back to the farm in my car to greet some guests. AKCA certified koi judges Dave and Debbie Hester. It's always enjoyable when judges visit my facility. They carry with them a unique view of koi, the eye of a trained judge, and also the bright eye of an enthusiastic hobbyist. There's so much to be learned from our certified judges. We pulled up groups of koi to compare details and characteristics. Dave and Debbie were both quick at picking out siblings. These two have incredible koi energy. After the second culling of kohaku, some were taken up to the barn and put into filter tanks. Koi can be sensitive to change, and stressful events can affect them in negative ways. Let's watch these baby koi for a few seconds and see how they're acting. Healthy and happy koi swim actively with their pectoral fins out. They are constantly exploring and nibbling. We can see here that some of these kohaku fry haven't made the transition from farm pond to filter tank very well. This may sound outlandish, but I won't use a microscope on this. These are symptoms I see every season. I won't scrape, I won't bombard the tanks with chemical remedy after remedy. I'll just dose the tank one time with Proform C, which is a mixture of formalin and malachite green. This will cover a broad spectrum of ailments: ick, costia, trichodina, kilodinella, odynium, and fungus. I'll dose it at 1 milliliter per 10 gallons, just one time. Then I'll do a water change after 4 days. I chose Proform C over potassium permanganate this time because the system is small, and Proform C is more forgiving. It won't completely kill off the ecosystem like a medical dose of potassium permanganate would. And the extra oxidizing benefits of potassium permanganate weren't needed here. If I had salt in these tanks, though, I would have used potassium permanganate instead. Within just a few days, the unhappy fish are happy again, and so am I.